Okay, so we have Bitcoin breaking key levels. Now we're at 94,000. We have the altcoins green like we're in the peak of a bull market. And this is causing massive FOMO. And I think the one thing that lots of traders are calling me and telling me today is, or asking me today is, have we missed the bull run? Have we missed the run? And the truth is that if you look at the charts, what you realize is that this is just the beginning of a breakout. And if we continue to run, we could actually there's actually a long way to go. So today what I thought we'd do is we'd create a portfolio, the ultimate recovery portfolio for people who are bullish in this run and want to know exactly which tokens to get into. I'm going to show you two portfolios. One if you're a bit more conservative, and another one if you're a bit more ultra perma bull. So we're going to talk about these two portfolios. I'm going to show you exactly which tokens I'm putting in there. Not only am I going to do that, but I'm actually going to show you the actual allocation, and then we're going to run a competition where basically you can put in your portfolio and you can compete against everyone at Banter, and the winner will win a $10,000 prize. So if that sounds good to you, what you need to do is subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. Let's just see how many subscribers we have. We have 1.160,789. Let's get that up to 1.161 million this show. Obliterate the like button. Let's get the show on the road, guys. All it took was one monthly green candle, and the bull market is back. The bull market is back. Everyone's celebrating. The bubbles are green. Crazy, beautiful green. Just look at some of these greens. Sui up 24.5%. I'm going to show you why that's happening. Athena, let's catch Athena before it goes on a run without us. Radium up 10%. Let's go to the next one's Turbo. Look at that. Look at Turbo. My goodness. 93% up. Deepbook listing on Upbit Exchange, 75% up. We're going to talk about all of these tokens today because we've got to talk about all of them because we've got to build the ultimate recovery portfolio. And a lot of these tokens are in the ultimate recovery portfolio. So listen, if that sounds good to you, what I need you guys to do is show me the energy. Show me that you guys are back, because we are so back. Obliterate the like button. I'm gonna get going with the alpha. I'm gonna bring you guys two portfolios today. Slight variations between the first one and the second. The first one is more for people who are bullish, but not that bullish. And there's another portfolio, which is a slight variation for people who are a lot more bullish. And I guess you need to ask yourself, why am I so comfortable to bring you guys a portfolio right now? I've held back on bringing a portfolio to the community because I haven't thought it's the right time to buy. What I was waiting for was I was waiting for some kind of turn in sentiment, and I was waiting for the charts to confirm the turn. And now that we've got the turn, we've got the breakout, we've got the trend reversal, I do think that it's time to actually start looking at a portfolio. And that's what we're going to be doing today. I did read this tweet today from Cold-Blooded Chiller. It says, it takes one day of green in bearish conditions to make you feel like you've missed the entire bull market. It takes a day of green to have the whole feed chastising you for your stupidity and not buying the bottom. And he says, the truth is, you've actually missed nothing, because if the tides are changing, you're going to have a lot more time than you need. And that's one of the premises under which we're building a portfolio today. Anyway, let's take a look at the charts. So we've had that one green candle in Bitcoin, now 94,231. A lot of this is a short squeeze, but a lot of this is momentum. And we'll talk about the difference between the short squeeze and the momentum. The reality is that it's not only Bitcoin, it's also the stocks. If you look at stocks yesterday, $1.5 trillion added back to the markets. If you look at the futures now, the stock futures now, up 2.7%. So it feels like there's been a change in sentiment. And that change in sentiment has actually been around a change in narrative. And to be brutally honest about what that change in narrative was, is it really does feel like Trump capitulated. Basically, President Xi called his bluff, and I think Trump relented under pressure. And so what you're seeing now is you're seeing a whole change in the narrative on Wall Street. It's almost like they had a strategic meeting. And at the strategic meeting, they said, look, guys, we've got to change the entire narrative. And they did a U-turn, not actually only on China, but they did a U-turn on the whole Powell thing as well. You'll remember that on the 7th of April, Trump called Powell. He said he's slow moving. On the April 14th, he said that the Trump administration is thinking about a successor for Powell. He said that he could fire Powell, etc., etc. now the whole narrative is completely changed. Listen to this.
You have no intention of firing Jerome Powell because here, 𝗥𝗘𝗪𝗦𝗧𝗏 a few days ago said that you and people in the White House are studying this idea of possibly before its term ends. Do you have any plans on doing it?
None whatsoever. Never did. The press runs away with things. No, I have no intention of firing him. I would like to see him be a little more active in terms of his idea to lower interest rates. This is a perfect time to lower interest rates.
So it seems like Powell, like Trump's going back with his tail between his legs. That whole rhetoric of I'm going to fire Powell and Powell will leave if I ask him to leave is now more of a respectful rhetoric, asking Powell nicely to reduce rates. And it's not only with Powell that Trump capitulated. He also started to capitulate against China.
And our country is getting stronger all the time because the other was not sustainable.
But how many times started with China? Are you going to play hardball with them? Are you going to mention COVID?
Well, I'm not going to say, no, I'm not going to mention COVID. I'm not going to say, oh, I'm going to play hardball with China. I'm going to play hardball with you, President Xi. No. We're going to be very nice. They're going to be very nice. And we'll see what happens. But ultimately, they have to make a deal because otherwise they're not going to be able to deal in the United States. And we want. So
it's all about now, we're going to negotiate with China. We're going to play nice with China. And it's not actually only Trump. It's also Bessent as well. He says this tariff standoff with China is unsustainable and he expects de-escalation. And so basically what you've got now is you've got the markets completely changing. Let's quickly look at the S&P opened 4 minutes ago. We are now up 2.68%. Yesterday we were up 2%. So we've clawed back 5% of these of the losses that we've made. And it feels like the sentiment has completely turned. And as a result of the fact that the sentiment has completely turned, a few things are happening. One is that there has been a crazy short squeeze. And there's still much more of a short squeeze to go. So if you look at the liquidation data, that's the size of the liquidation, which is huge. I mean, this is like one of the biggest liquidations that we've had in a long time. And it is on the short side this time. So the shorts are currently getting completely obliterated. That's the first thing. The second thing is a lot of people are talking about the similarity between this cycle and now 2021 cycle. What you remember is in 2021, also actually in the beginning of 2021, in Feb, we topped in, we had the bull run in Feb. Then we went down. It was this whole sell in May. And then we then started to get an upturn around July. And a lot of people are saying that we may get this like double top scenario where now we get to the bull market part 2 for altcoins. So almost like we had bull market part 1 peaked in January. Bull market part 2, which went higher last time, is now starting. Anyway, either way, we have this short squeeze that's happening now. We have the FOMO coming back. If you look at the ETFs bought $1 billion yesterday, $912 million. Let's actually see what the ETH ETFs bought. Did anybody actually buy ETH ETFs yesterday? 38 million of ETH ETFs. We got a momentum change in Bitcoin. So actually, within the matter of a few hours, Bitcoin overtook Amazon, then it overtook silver. Then it actually overtook Google, but now obviously because the market's running, Google's over. But I reckon in the next couple of days, Bitcoin will overtake Google. And then the only thing that's left is Nvidia, Microsoft, Apple, and then we're on the way up to go and take gold. It could all just be as simple as this M2 money supply chart, which Raoul Paul's been talking about. Because there's about a 12-week lag between the M2 money supply increasing, which is a liquidity measure, and the Bitcoin price. And it could all just come down to this 12-week lead time. And we could just be following this chart. That's another chart that we need to look at. One of our researchers, actually, in fact, the same researcher that runs our newsletters. For those of you who didn't know, we had newsletters. Wakey, Rise and Shine. We have newsletters. Let me find you the newsletters. There's a link below, actually. Let's quickly just look here. There is a link below. Josh, believe it or not, there better be a link below. Hold on, right at the top. So if you look here, so there is a link to our 2 newsletters. We have a newsletter called Good Morning Crypto. And then if you are a chart degen, we have one called the Daily Candle, which is which is basically 5 of the best charts that you have that come out every single day. So if you want to subscribe to those, go and subscribe to those. Those usually come out before the shows. Not today, because I wanted him to keep the alpha until the show, right? So that is the story. But there's one metric that I want you guys to look at, which shows me that it may be time to go a little bit more risk on. And that metric is the short-term holder realized price. Now, what is this? This is the level at which short-term holders break from losses to profits. And we've just gone through the short-term holder level from profits to losses, right? Now, why is this such a key level? Because when short-term holders go from losses back into profits, generally that gives them license to go more risk on. And generally what happens is whenever Bitcoin goes above the short-term holder profits after a bad time, that is generally when altcoins actually start to run. And so now that gave me the green light. That plus looking at the charts, the total 2 chart and total 3 charts, both of them have had a breakout. And so that says to me that we may actually be going risk on. Someone says something's going on here. Let's just have a look here. Okay, White House considers slashing China tariffs to de-escalate. Okay, this is coming out. This is really breaking news right now. White House considers slashing China tariffs to de-escalate trade war. That's happening live as we speak. That's why Bitcoin had a bit of a run. Okay, the S&P is up 2.5%. So I think a lot's happening. We'll keep bringing it to you. We'll keep bringing it to you live. Sheldon has just said, send me something. Okay, amazing. I've got something here. Okay, cool. So with that in mind, with the breakout in mind, and with the change in momentum around short-term holders. Hold on, there's more here coming up here, more details here. Let's just have a look at this before we actually get into the portfolio. Trump administration is weighing major tariff cutoffs on Chinese imports, possibly by over 50% to reduce trade tensions. Sources say no final decision has been made and the option remains open. One idea is a tiered system, 35% tariffs on non-strategic items, 100% plus on goods tied to national security, phased in over 5 years. Basically, you can see that they're softening their stance. You can see that they're softening their stance. All right, so with a breakout in total 2, a breakout in total 3, which I'll show you in a second, and the short-term holders actually getting into profit, I think it's time to actually start building a portfolio if you don't already have a portfolio. And if you think it's too late, it's not too late. And I mean, I'll show you like this is the number of altcoins that have the performance of altcoins. Basically, only these have performed green. All of these have actually performed red. If you look at the alt season index, it just shows you that only 16 altcoins have outperformed Bitcoin in the last period, right? And so it's literally, this is, I think if you're getting in now, you're getting in pretty early. You're getting in pretty early, right? And so I'm making a portfolio, and I'm making a portfolio based on a few assumptions, and really 3 very basic assumptions. The first assumption is that you believe that there's going to be a market recovery. So if you believe that this is the beginning of a market recovery, that is the assumption under which this portfolio is going to be built. The next thing is that you're going to buy this portfolio and you're going to hold this portfolio for 12 months. And the third thing is that we're going back to basics. So when I say back to basics, I always say that my thesis around blockchain is that blockchain is about the creation of digital value. And in the thesis of the creation of digital value, there's basically 3 layers or 3 levels that you need to invest in. The first one is the chain on which the digital value is going to be created, which is Bitcoin, which is ETH, which is Solana. The second thing is the trading or the trading of that value, which is usually the DEXs and the derivatives DEXs. And the derivatives DEXs obviously end up making a lot more money. And the third assumption is that the third layer is the projects themselves. So 3 layers. One is the layer 1, where the digital value is created. You want to put most of your money there. Then you're going to put less money into the places where people can trade the digital value. And where you want to put the least money is on the actual projects themselves. Because projects may fail, but doesn't matter how many projects succeed and how many projects fail, the layer 1 is going to continue to be used, and people are always going to trade digital value. Whether it's an AI project, whether it's a meme coin, ultimately people are always going to go back to DEXs, and the degens, all of us, are going to always go back to derivatives DEXs. And so those are the assumptions that I'm making in making the portfolio. One is that you believe that there's going to be a market recovery and it's going to be a sustained recovery, and you believe that the worst is over or close to over. Then I'm making an assumption that you want to hold this portfolio for 12 months. And then I'm going to make an assumption that you have the same thesis as me, where you want to invest in the chains. Most of the money goes into the chains. Less money goes into the trading on the chains, and a very small part of your portfolio actually goes into the actual projects, because those get a little bit risky. If that sounds like your kind of portfolio strategy, then I've built two portfolios for you. The first portfolio is a little bit more conservative, and the next portfolio is if you're ultra mega bullish. Okay, so let's talk about the conservative portfolio first. And in the conservative portfolio, I basically said, look, this is a Bitcoin cycle. Up until now, it's been a Bitcoin cycle. TradFi is coming into Bitcoin. In this case, I would put 25% of my money in Bitcoin, right? Like, I think it's pretty simple. Then what I've said is, let's look at Solana. And I would put, for me, I've said, look, I don't want to be involved in ETH. I think that ETH is too slow to respond, too heavy. I broke down my thesis in a previous show. And I think I'm going to put the majority of my money on a big layer one bet, which is Solana. The next token that I'm going to be buying actually isn't a token. It's a stock. And I would be putting money into Coinbase. And the reason why I put money into Coinbase is it's not about the chart, even though the chart does look pretty good. I mean, if you look at the bottom was about 145. It's now at just under 200. The top is around 340. And it's about to do a breakout on the weekly. But that's not why I'm buying it. For me, Coinbase is effectively optionality on the entire crypto ecosystem. So if crypto wins and if crypto grows, the biggest custodian of that growth is going to be Coinbase or Robinhood. And I think Coinbase is slightly better positioned. And so what I would do is, even though it's not strictly a crypto token, I would put about 7.5% of my money into Coinbase. Okay, so the next stock that I put in, the next token that I put in is Coinbase. All right, let's move down the risk curve. After that, I'm going to put 7.5% of my money into Hyperliquid. There's a reason why I'm putting 7.5% of my money into Hyperliquid. If you look at Hyperliquid falls into the thesis around trading, and it falls into the thesis around derivatives trading, which is, it basically ticks two boxes. On the one hand, it's a trading platform. On the other hand, it's a derivatives trading platform. And it is really the only derivatives trading platform that is managing to capture any type of real volume from the centralized exchanges. And so if you look at this is Hyperliquid's Binance Spot versus Hyperliquid Perps, Binance Perps versus Hyperliquid Perps. Of course, Hyperliquid has got a much smaller market share, but if you look at the growth, there's massive growth. And I've traded on Hyperliquid, and it's really the only, I'll actually take you to the, I'm not sure if I've got a wallet that's plugged in here. This is a new laptop, but let's quickly have a look at it. So Hyperliquid, let's go to the app. For those of you who've never seen it, it really looks and feels like a centralized exchange, and it's as fast as a centralized exchange. And so I would be looking to get into Hyperliquid. You can see it's still 46% off its high. The low was, I didn't actually measure the low on this cycle, but it just shows you there's quite a long way to go. All right, then I'm going to move into my other layer ones. And for this, I'm going to add two other layer ones. The first one is Sui, and the second one is Sonic. Sui has got a lot of the share of attention and the share of mind. You can see that if you look at the bubbles, not only has Sui got a big bubble here, but if you look at Walrus, which is the storage solution on Sui, that's also got a big one. And if you look at DeepBook, which is the liquidity book on Sui, again, it just shows there's a lot of share of mind that's actually going to Sui, right? Also, on top of that, they've got their base camp on May the 1st and May 2nd, which is next week in Dubai. It's over the token 2049. And usually what happens is that the tokens make huge announcements during or before their base camp. So I think the next couple of days and maybe weeks for Sui are going to be massive. I mean, they have made some big announcements. The Greek stock exchange, the Athens stock exchange is going on to Sui. They've made some other big announcements. So for me, these are the two L1 bets that I'm going to take. Sonic, also, believe it or not, also got a summit coming up on the 6th to the 8th of May in Vienna. On top of that, lots of TVL coming in. The chain is working very well. There's also a big airdrop that's going to start happening now. And I think that what's happened is that this ecosystem has been suppressed. But now that the altcoins are waking up, I really think that you're going to get a massive run from Sonic. And I think Sonic is at about 50 cents right now. And at 52 cents, the high is about $1. So I think it's got quite a long way to go. So I'm going to add about 5% of my portfolio into these. So if you take that, I've got 65% of my portfolio in rather conservative, multi-cycle L1s and trading projects. Now I'm going to move slightly down. So we believe there's going to be a real world asset narrative. And I think one of the big winners in this real world asset narrative is going to be Chainlink. So regardless of which project it is, ultimately they're going to land up using Chainlink's infrastructure. And not only from an Oracle point of view, but also from a cross-chain point of view. So for me, I think Chainlink is one that you got to have in your portfolio. Now we move on to the trading platforms. And I'm going to go quite a bit faster here because I really want you guys to see all of them. So remember I said that it's all about creation of value and trading that value. And to trade the value, you've got to go for the biggest DEX in each category, right? So the biggest DEX on Solana, when you look at the Solana DEX and you look at the volume, Radium's always the biggest DEX on Solana. So to me, Radium, they've just launched a token launching platform to compete with Pump.Fun. And they did that because Pump.Fun launched a DEX. And it was like, okay, you want to launch a DEX, we'll launch a trading platform. But just look at what this chart looks like. It's come down from $9. It's still at $2.64. For me, Radium is definitely one that I'm going to add into my portfolio, 2.5%. I would even put 5% into Radium. Then there's a whole stablecoin narrative. Now, we know stablecoins are going to be huge. We know that the US wants dollar domination, and the way that they want to achieve dollar domination is by using stablecoins. And the most prominent stablecoin exchange where you can exchange stablecoins to other stablecoins with the least slippage is Curve. And in a world where let's just see if we can Curve crypto. In a world where there's going to be a whole lot of stablecoins and people are going to be trading stablecoin for stablecoin, you want to be able to trade with very small slippage. And so this is probably the best place to do it is actually to do it on Curve. All right, then we look at the biggest DEX on Base, which is Aerodrome. Now, interestingly, when you look at Aerodrome, I just want you to have a look at this chart, and I want to show you why I'm so excited about Aerodrome as a token in terms of price. The high, $2.40, currently trading at 50 cents. I mean, that's a breakout if I've ever seen a breakout. I'll show it to you on the daily. I think the daily basically shows, to me, this is like, you know, if you believe the market's turn, this is like a sitting duck. I mean, you can draw the trend line over here. You can draw the trend line up here. This is like a breakout and a sitting duck, and it absolutely looks amazing. All right. Then I would take a chance on one of the two DEXs on Sonic. I would either go to Shadow or I'd go to SwapX. Shadow has a market cap of about $20 million. SwapX has a market cap of about $10 million. I think you should go for one of these. Why? Because there's a massive airdrop that's happening on Sonic. And the airdrop is going to go to users of these protocols, right? And so I think that this is a big, I think this is going to be an amazing place to be. I think when these things actually run, they're going to have a massive run. All right, now we move on to another category, which is interoperability. And for a lot of you who've seen some of my previous portfolios, you may think, hold on, we've never seen you talk about Layer 0. And the truth is I haven't really spoken much about Layer 0, but it's hard for me not to talk about Layer 0 when both Binance Labs and Multicoin Capital and A16Z are now in this new round of Multicoin of Layer 0. It shows me that someone knows that something's happening and that these guys have very good technology. And so I've actually added Layer 0 into the operability thing. All right, now we move on to gaming. And there's two tokens in the gaming narrative that I think should be in your portfolio. The first one is Superfarm, or Super. They don't call it Superfarm anymore. And the reason why I think Super is a good one to be in the portfolio is because when gaming runs, Super is the token that actually has the biggest run. It's the most hyped token out there. The next one is Gunzilla Games. And the reason why I say Gunzilla Games is a good one is, from a user point of view, if you look at the usage metrics, and I think I've got the usage metrics over here, they are by far the most played game. Okay, like this is like the most played game that you have out there. It's probably the only game that can compete with real games that are not blockchain games. That's the first thing. The second reason why I like it is because this is a token that's launched with only 6% of the circulating supply in circulation. Very small percent of the circulating supply in circulation, right? And the chart has been down only since the launch, right? Like, I mean, if you look at, like, okay, it's touched 4 and it's back at 6. At some point, these guys are going to pump the hell out of this thing. Remember that I said this to you. Even if you're just a trader, remember that I said this to you. Remember, they are going to pump the hell out of this thing. And that's why I think you need to have Super and Gunzilla in your portfolio. Okay, now we go on to 2 other categories. The first one is AI, and the second one is meme coins. Yes, you heard right. We are going to have meme coins in our portfolio. The reason why we're going to have meme coins in our portfolio is because it feels like even after all of the pain that we went through, the risk takers, the absolute degens, are going to keep running back into meme coins. If you take the 1 week chart and you look at the token that has performed, I think 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, so Turbo, WIF, Popcat, I think 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 was one of the best, one of the biggest, wasn't it? Let's have a look here. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. There we go, 33%, up 33%. So, to me, is that right? Up 33% this week? Maybe, okay, up 100% this month. So maybe that's a better way to look at it. So 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, one of the best one of the best performers out there. And so if you look at the next part of my portfolio, I'm adding in the following tokens. One is I'm adding in 𝗤𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. I think it's become the ultimate AI token. It's become like the center point of AI tokens. Then I'm adding in Grass. Now, for those of you who don't know what Grass does, it's a tool, which is it's an extension that you add into your Chrome, and it basically scrapes website data, and they use that website data to train AI. Now, it's an amazing protocol with actually massive revenue. Someone actually worked out the revenue to about $60 million a month, which is massive for a crypto project. And so this is one that I would definitely add in. If you want to have a look at the chart, the Grass chart, okay, it's this chart over here. And what you can see on the daily is that this thing has been at a high of $3.90. It's trading at $1.66. The lowest that it's been, and I'll draw a line here, is about $1.16. So you're still actually buying it quite near the bottom. All right, then we move on to AI16Z. Look, I don't know if agents are going to come back or not, but what the bubbles are telling me is that if I look at the tokens in the top 200 that are coming back, a lot of them were actually AI agents. So you see Virtuals is bouncing back and bouncing back hard. And then let's just look at AI16Z. Okay, it's up 33% this today and 48% this week. So this is something that I would add in, but I'd put in a very small allocation in the portfolio. And then I'd add 2 other projects. Sorry, Jupyter's not memes, it is DEXs. So I would put Jupyter and I would put Popcat in. Popcat is, I think I've missed 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Popcat's having a good run. I think you need to just have a little bit of exposure to memes in your portfolio. I've put in 1 meme token in my portfolio, and that's pretty much it. So that is how I would allocate 100% of my money if I was relatively conservative about the fact that the market is going to run. Now, the question is, when do you buy these things? So a lot of what we've had in the last couple of days is a short squeeze. I would be buying them over the next week or so, just buying them in 3 different buys over the next week. Hopefully the short squeeze ends and we get some kind of market run. Remember, you're holding this for 12 months. And if your thesis is that we're breaking out and we're going to get higher than where we were before, then whether you buy it here or whether you buy it here doesn't actually make a big difference. All right, so that is the first part of the first part of the hold on a second. I'm getting people telling me about Whale School. Okay, so we'll do Whale School in a second. All right, so that is the first portfolio. If you are bullish, but not crazy bullish, this is the portfolio that I would invest in. We'll leave a link to the spreadsheet below. You guys can download the spreadsheet. Frontrunners actually got this spreadsheet way earlier. All right, if you're bullish, then what I would do is I would move a lot of the allocation that I've got up here slightly lower down. So instead of having 25% in Bitcoin, I would have less in Bitcoin, but I'd go more into altcoins. Now, to do that, you've got to have big balls. Like, you've got to have seriously big balls. Why? Because to go and put more money into SwapX and more money into gaming projects at a time when only Bitcoins run, you got to be one of the braver people out there. But if you are brave and if you are right, then ultimately you will get rewarded. And so what I've done with the second portfolio is not a very big difference from the first portfolio to the second portfolio. I'll actually show you what I've done here. I've tried to keep it really simple for you, right? So here, what I would do is I would go Bitcoin 15%, Solana 15%, Coinbase 7.5%, which is pretty much the same as what it was. But then I would add in MicroStrategy, which my researchers believe is an L1 and a DEX, actually. It's not, it's a stock, guys. I'm paying these guys way too much. It's an L1 and a DEX, they said. Who knows? So I'd put in 5% of my portfolio into MicroStrategy. And the reason why I put 5% of the portfolio into MicroStrategy is because this is a leverage bet on Bitcoin. And so you've got 15% of your portfolio in Bitcoin, and then you've got 5% of your portfolio in a leveraged bet on Bitcoin. Then you've got Hyperliquid, 7.5%, Sui, 5%, Phantom or Sonic, 7.5%. I wouldn't put money into Chainlink, and you'll see why I didn't put any money into Chainlink, because I doubled the allocation to Aerodrome, because I just think that if the chains run and Base starts running, then Aerodrome starts to run. I took the money out of layer 0, and you see I started to allocate a lot more into the gaming tokens. I also added in a second meme coin, and I said, okay, in this case, if I'm more bullish, I'm going to go a little bit more into WIF. Now, that's for someone who's slightly more bullish, but wants to remain responsible. Okay, now I'm going to, if you're bullish and you really want to degen, I'll show you something that you can do, but if you're gonna do this, then you have to do it the way that I say you're going to do it, okay? Promise me. Someone says Richard Hart beat the SEC. Researchers, did Richard Hart beat the SEC? Let's just see. It'll probably be in the newsroom. Let's quickly look at the newsroom. Spot gold falls because they're making peace with China. Trump decided not to fire Powell. We know that. Everything that you need is here in the newsroom. I don't see anything about Richard Hart in the newsroom. No, nothing about Richard Hart. But maybe one of you can send it to me. Okay, cool. So, if you are bullish and you are someone says, yeah? Oh, it happened this morning. Okay, that happened this morning. So, if you are absolutely bullish, right? And you know how to trade with leverage, what you can do is you can take the core portfolio, which is the original portfolio. It's this portfolio over here, right? And providing that you're using isolated margin, so forget about that. Don't use cross margin. Always set up your okay, let me just log in here. Hold on a second. Hold on. Let me just get you guys off the screen here so I can actually just get the right username. Hold on a second. Let me get a username, and I can actually show you how to do it. So let me open this account. I've set up an account, and actually I'm going to do this later. I just haven't had time to do it before the show because I was prepping. But what I'm going to do is, let me log in. Okay, there we go. So, but if you're going to do this, you've got to be super responsible in the way that you do it. Now, I've put 50K into this account, and I'm going to do it on this account. Here, what I recommend is that you go into your futures trading portal on Bybit. You can open an account on Bybit. There are links below. You can also open an account on BTCC and get massive money back. You get like, for every amount that you deposit over 10,000, you get 15% of your money back. Okay, now, providing that you have isolated margin on, and you go for the small margins, like 3x, you can basically take that portfolio on 3x leverage, which means that you'll only get liquidated if these tokens drop by 1/3. So you can make a combination of going slightly leveraged and buying slightly on spot, and then you get slightly more exposure for your money. But again, this is for people who are really brave and really, really, really bullish. Okay, so that is what I would do. I've showed you if you are bullish. I've basically showed you exactly how to do this. Remember, guys, we have got 2 newsletters. They are amazing, amazing newsletters, if I may say so myself. One of them actually talks about sell in May, because remember, we're going into sell in May season now. So one of them actually talks about sell in May. The other one gives you 5 trades every single day. Daily Candle literally gives you 5 trades every single day. You can subscribe over here. The spreadsheet is over here. If you want to join, hold on. Let's put this portfolio competition in, guys. If you want to join and you are part of Frontrunners, anyone can join. But if you're part of Frontrunners, then you can put your name in here. Anyone can join. But if you're part of Frontrunners, you can stand a chance to win the $10,000. We look at this again in 12 months. So 12 months from today, we look at it again. The one with the highest portfolio. Actually, researchers, can we change this? You got to put in token and percentage allocation. So, guys, let's fill these in, and the winner in 12 months will get a $10,000 prize if they're part of Frontrunners. If you're not part of Frontrunners, join up as quickly as possible. Oh wow, look what they've done here. They've said the first 10 users are going to get 30% off their memberships. The next 15 users are going to get 20%, and the last 40 users are going to get 15%. So, I guess it's first come, first serve. You want to be part of Frontrunners when the market starts running. I promise you, it's probably the best place to be for alpha. Anyway, that is it for today. I'll see you guys again tomorrow. We are going to have a show tomorrow. And then Friday, I've got Ben Cowan coming on. This time, he's really coming on. Last time, he had a family emergency, so he never came on. See you guys again tomorrow. Until then, trade well, my friends.